everyone who are watching us now. Welcome to the next series of YBH Startup Ecosystem Talks. With this project, we aim to get to know the startup ecosystem of YC countries closely. And every month, we choose different country as our focus country and introduce it to everyone by listening and discussing with the experts of that country. And our third guest country in this series is Lebanon. We have very valuable and esteemed expert guests today to talk about the Lebanese startup ecosystem. So without further ado, I would like first to give the floor to Mr. Mohammed Hazima, Vice President of Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, who is also from Lebanon. Mr. Hazima, we are very happy and honored to have you here today. And it will be very valuable for us and also for our listeners to hear a few words about the Lebanese startup ecosystem from your perspective. So, Mr. Hazima, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Ms. Jawharat. Salutations and salam alaikum to you all. Dr. Linda from the Ministry of Economy of Lebanon, Mr. Maat al-Faouri, who is professional. Who was a professional at entrepreneurship and at startups, who has several startups himself in several countries, and who is also an ICYF member from Jordan, representing Jordan. My salutations to Basil, who is has his own startups and someone who is active in the Lebanese youth startups that are taking place. And definitely salutations to you, Ms. Jawharat, and to our sisters and brothers at the Secretariats. Definitely not to forget all of those who are with us today, who have taken time and liberty to come listen to us. So, first I would like to briefly speak about the startups and the startup ecosystems, about the important role they play in shaping up today's new economy. Because we can see that over the past few years, the economical crisis has affected all countries all across the world. You can see inflation in several countries that's taking place. All of a sudden, you wake up one day, the rate of your currency is at some point, and you wake up the next day, it's at a total different point. Several businesses have went bankrupt. Several people have had miserable times because of this. They've lost their jobs, they have lost living capacities, living abilities because of this problem. And in Lebanon, in particular, we have faced this problem dramatically in the past 3 years, ever since 2019, where we have had an economic collapse. So, a regular employee who would have been living, well, let's say middle class, his salary, if it still remains in the Lebanese pounds the same way that it was, he can barely afford his life necessities with that salary due to the inflation, due to the collapsing economy. Well, currently the government or the ministries, related ministries, are trying their best. However, it's not. It needs time. It's not something that can be solved with a day or two. I think Dr. Linda is more of an expert on that than myself. So we are struggling. However, I truly believe that just like what's happening in the world, what's happening in the countries that are near us, the countries in the area, and the countries all over the world, the economy is shifting from a certain types of businesses that we have been used to throughout the years, the regular in-store business, the regular employment issues, the regular employment traditions, and what we were used to. You go study at university so that you can find a job, to have new startups, to have entrepreneurs. Back in my days, when we used to be in the university, we used to take a course that was called entrepreneurship. However, it was not as applied as we see today. We see the aspect of social media has opened up this opportunity to each and every individual where they can start their startups from scratch, from a main basic idea that they might get, which they can transform into an actual business that could get them revenue and could get them income much more than a mere job. And fortunately, Lebanon has been known to be one of the most innovative countries, especially in the area, where Beirut has been quite a center for startups, for innovation, maybe the democratic system found in Lebanon, whether the monetary system or the financial system, or in general the opinionated democracy that is present, which encourages businesses, encourages startups, encourages as well education, has provided at some point this in the suitable environment for these startups. So we have seen several startups here in Lebanon, whether they were funded or started by non-Lebanese or by Lebanese themselves. And this today is by itself provides an opportunity to the Lebanese people, especially the youth. Because today I do not expect my grandfather or maybe even my father to come up with a new innovative idea as a startup. But I do expect the youth of today, those who are new graduates, those who are still within the age of group of the youth, to be able to have the innovative ideas because they, first of all, they are more educated due to the much more easier access of education. For example, if we take back those who are between 50s and 70s, who are aged between 50 and 70 today, we can find that only 60% of them are educated in Lebanon, which is a pretty good percentage due to the fact that we had the civil war, we had several obstacles in the way of getting an education. If you were born in maybe in the rural areas, whether in the north or in the south or in maybe in Bika, it was much harder for you to get an education. So it was a good 60%. However, if we look at those aging today between 20 and 40, we can find that the percentage is approximately between 80 and 85%. So that's a good percentage. So we can truly rely on this generation to work on startups. They have the need for it. So in Arabic, we have a saying that goes, Al-Haja al-Ikhtira, meaning the need is the mother of all innovation. And we have the need today. We have the need that a job won't do it. Salaries won't do it. So you have to find your own startup, your own idea, your own innovative idea that you can work upon, that you can make a change through, and which in return will give you a good return on investment, will give you a good revenue, which will give you a better situation, better lives. Furthermore, since Dr. Linda is here with us, I would like to take this opportunity to say that the new strategy set by the Ministry of Economy is definitely giving an advantage to these startups. It's providing all the necessities that help these youth, whether through several rules that were adopted by the parliament, whether through several sponsorships that are being provided by the ministry, several even workshops done by the ministry. We have seen that in Expo 2020, the ministry was able to demonstrate very innovative and very creative Lebanese thoughts and ideas that have truly shown the true colors and true image of the Lebanese and the Lebanese youth and what they are able to do. So I would like to call out each and every, first of all, each and every Lebanese sister and brother from the youth, who I could consider them all our sisters and brothers. Today is an opportunity. It's not the circumstances you're living in, it creates an opportunity, not an obstacle. Because due to these circumstances, you have to search harder for doing something. You have to do something. It's upon your responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of ministerial figures or the politicians or the parliament members or even the president or prime minister or a speaker of parliament. No, it's each and every one of you's responsibility. The solution should not be looking to live abroad. It should be finding the innovative ideas that you can adapt and you can use here in Lebanon. You can go creative and get the revenue needed. And second of all, I would like to call out the youth and business men and women across the world, especially in OIC, brotherly and sisterly countries, our sibling countries, where today Lebanon is also an opportunity to all of you, because you have much cheaper services now provided in Lebanon, where if you want to, the rent of what used to cost $3,000 to $4,000 in Beirut city would now cost a mere $1,000 or less. The employee, which would cost $3,000 to $4,000 in Lebanon, could maybe today be employed for $600 or $700 when it's in Lebanon, or maybe $800. So this is I'm being logical. I would have preferred that the salaries would remain as much as they were used to, but to be honest, it's not the same. So this is an opportunity for investments in Lebanon as well. I do call out, this is a chance to investors, whether in Lebanon or abroad Lebanon, whether Lebanese or foreigners, to invest within these circumstances. And I truly believe this is the light at the there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a huge light actually in Lebanon ecosystem today. There's a huge light for the young startups, for entrepreneurs. Today is the era of ideas. It's the era of technology. It's the era of innovation and creativity. So go for it, and I can assure you good results. Thank you once again for having all our speakers here, our respective speakers here today. Thank you for all those who have tuned in to listen to us. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Basil. The floor is yours. You are our moderator. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mohammed Azim. It was a pleasure to be hearing you and listening to this rich introduction. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Okay, it's always a pleasure to see you and to hear from you, even if it's remotely. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. It's a great honor to be meeting you and to be addressing you and speaking to you. Our talk today will be about startup ecosystem in Lebanon. I am Basil Shukr, and I will be moderating the talk. And joining us today will be two distinguished, successful, and highly knowledgeable individuals. Currently, we are welcoming the holy month of Ramadan. May it be a time of blessing and forgiveness for you all. We usually do a nice meal before the start of Ramadan, calling it Sibanat Ramadan in Lebanon. But that's in terms of food. Today, we will have another kind of meal, full of knowledge and information, inshallah. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says that the best charity is that when an individual gains knowledge and then he teaches it to others. Today, our guests will be sharing with us their knowledge and information about Lebanese and the MENA region startup ecosystem. As an introduction, startups are a vital factor of the Lebanese economy, amounting for 1.5% of GDP, as per Lebanese Central Bank prior to the economic crisis in 2019. As per now, post the crisis, we don't have that much of statistics to exactly measure how much the startup ecosystem measures out of the GDP. And post the crisis, most youth focused on startups since it would be a better option as an income and an interest, as Mr. Hazimi already mentioned, considering that the salaries and wages in public and private sectors lost their value due to inflation and decrease in value of the Lebanese currency. Startups were a go-to option for many, such as online stores, new coffee shops, food kiosks, freelancing designers and developers, for example, web developers, app developers, anything of this sort. We are currently in a country with an economy that is in the rebuilding and reforming stages. And as youth, as I'm one of them, still one of them, we still believe that we can overcome the hardships we are facing and believe that this country's economy will improve with time, and we can take the insight of Dr. Linda now even more. Today, we will be discussing this matter in Lebanon with our two guests, again, Dr. Linda Qasim and Mr. Mu'adh Faouri, who will be joining us from Jordan and giving us his international insight on this matter. Dr. Linda will be sharing with us her knowledge and input on the Lebanese startups ecosystem, considering the current Lebanese economic crisis, considering her experience as a senior policy and legal advisor, with over 17 years of UN experience within the framework of the United Nations Development Program, which is UNDP, in support to the Ministry of Economy and Trade in Lebanon. She participated in defining public policies, drafting legislations, and strategies on economic development and digital transformation. The latest was the Lebanese National Cybersecurity Strategy in 2019 and its implementation plan in 2021. Dr. Linda is Lebanon's accession to the World Trading Organization. She's the national coordinator and chief negotiator on bilateral, regional, and multilateral trade agreements. She's a board member of ISOC, Lebanon chapter, and lecturer in Lebanese universities. She's the author of the Legal Value of Electronic Communications International Contracts. She is also a consultant for the General Director of the Ministry of Economy in Lebanon. So she will be providing us with the input about the government approach for such a matter. Thank you, Dr. Linda, for being with us today. Our guest also is Mr. Mu'adh. He is the CEO and founder of Astrolab Investments. He is an entrepreneur who is interested in public policies and economies of emerging markets, such as ours. We are an emerging market. MBA holder from German Jordanian University. Mr. Mu'adh also is originally an electrical engineer. He did not mention that. I will come into that just in a jiff. He graduated from University of Jordan. And on the personal level, he is always sharing his experience and encouraging youth to be launching startups. He is the founder also of Mujaddidun Association and the Youth Moderate Forum in Jordan. By the way, I enjoyed your TED Talk on YouTube, Mr. Mu'adh. It was lovely. And Mr. Mu'adh will be sharing with us his input from an international perspective as an entrepreneur and a startup founder himself. Welcome, Mr. Mu'adh. So first, I would like to give Dr. Linda the floor to give us a brief and an introduction to our topic today. Go ahead, Doctor. The floor is yours.
Okay. Actually, thank you so much, Bassel, for this introduction. And I would like to thank Mr. Hazima as well for his intro. And I would like to thank the organizers for this event and giving me the opportunity to be part of this. As you mentioned, Bassel, I worked with the Ministry of Economy and Trade through the UNDP project for the past 17 years, and this is quite a lot. I worked on different projects. It's not purely on SMEs, however. In working on policies, I used to touch upon this topic from different perspectives. I also advised the Minister of Technology, Information Technology. We had this ministry for once in the life of Lebanon. So I had the chance to work with Mr. Afyouni on this. In fact, regarding the SMEs ecosystem in Lebanon, it's really very important to talk about this topic, especially through the times that we are passing, that Lebanon is passing through, where I will give just a number about the developers that have left Lebanon. Almost 8,500 developers out of around 11,500
Wow.
developers left Lebanon due to the current crisis. I don't want to be that much pessimistic. However, I want to look to the current problem, or to the current situation from a positive perspective.
Let's call it an opportunity, as
An
Mr.
opportunity,
said.
exactly. Yeah. As Mr.
Sort
Hazima
of.
said, we have to turn this problem into opportunity. Having all the factors that Mr. Hazimi mentioned, and you, Basil, mentioned about the cheap labor, about the costs that are incurred on the startups. What I would say is that startups now have an opportunity in Lebanon more than before. Where this enabling environment, at least at this level, by cutting the financial, some of the administrative costs that they will have, and cutting these costs by even more than half, this makes Lebanon a good place for people to invest. And I would like to give example now here about people that are around me. Let's say I'll give you example about my colleague at work who did a page on Instagram about renting dresses for occasions besides her job. Other person was my daughter's friend, and she's 16 years old. She started the idea of just selling the old clothes that she has. They are in good condition, selling them also through a page on Instagram. And she developed her work. So now she brings the clothes and takes the clothes from her friends and sell them on her page. And here goes on the examples about
this is
people.
Let's say this is on a small scale. We can go
exactly.
more deeper on a larger scale.
We can go sure on larger scale. However, I wanted to highlight this just to say as introduction that let's turn the problems and obstacles that we are facing into, and the challenges that we are facing into opportunities for the new generation. And I will for sure talk more about the policies that we have and we worked on at the ministry through the conversation. Back to you, Basil.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Linda. And now, Mr. Muad, the floor is yours, and we are all ears. We want to hear as much as possible. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Basil. I would like to thank ICYF and Young Business Hub, Mr. Taha Ayhan, Dr. Mohammed Hazima, and Mr. Sardar for inviting me to speak about this interesting topic. Regarding your question at the first place, the markets are considered emerging markets in the MENA region, especially Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. Those are emerging markets compared to the world. So, for example, Turkey, it's considered as the China for Europe in terms of mass production and the cost. And at the same time, it's considered as the Europe to the MENA region from quality standpoint. So there are in emerging markets, there are great opportunities, as you mentioned before. You can find skills with reasonable cost, of course. The services are not well developed in this part of the world. So yes, this is a great opportunity for any business, any entrepreneur, anyone who has an idea in his mind to dig deep and to create a service or a product to sell it to their customers. entrepreneurs are interested to solve problems. For example, if they face financial problems or if they see financial problems in their workplaces, they create fintech technologies. Or if they see in logistics, they create shipping companies in a more advanced way. So entrepreneurs, they know how to solve problems. By the way, Lebanon, I visited Lebanon last month, and it was invitation for 1 day to this.
You should have paid us a visit. You should have paid us a visit. The next time we will have
Inshallah. So I'm a founder of different companies myself, and we received an offer to open a branch in Lebanon. So the first question came to me. I asked the investor, "Are you serious about opening a business in Lebanon?" He told me, "Just come and see." So I came for 1 day.
What did you see?
So okay. To be honest, I was surprised. I visited Lebanon many times, but and it wasn't the best time to visit Lebanon. But I saw many opportunities. For example, I went to Zaytuna Bay. The place was crowded with too many people. All of it were busy locations. So he asked me then, "Do you think that there is a crisis in Lebanon?" I'm sure it's a bias question visiting this.
There's two sides of the coin. There's always two sides of the coin.
Yes. I'm sure.
Yeah, especially that Lebanon always is welcoming tourists and immigrants that go out of Lebanon and then come. So they come with a good value of dollar compared to the Lebanese lira. So they always have better capability of buying those expensive stuff that could be compared to other Lebanese. Sorry for interrupting you, but this is one of the most important things.
Yes, definitely. Yes, so building an ecosystem for entrepreneurs has different aspects. One of them is the technological part. One of them is the learning and the government laws and regulations and the incubators, accelerators, funding. To be honest, one of the easiest problems to be solved, yet many people think that it's a big issue for entrepreneurs, is to get funded. If you have a proven concept, you can find a huge interest from different types of investors, from VCs, from angel investors, from incubators. You can get it locally and internationally. Now we are living in the fourth wave of industrial يعني الثورة الصناعية الرابعة.
Industrial renaissance, let's say.
Exactly. So technology now, it's not something optional for entrepreneurs. Now, يعني Facebook, it's maybe it's the highest growing or social media platforms. We can see the growth in these companies, and the beauty about these concepts, it can be built anywhere in the world. You should not be in the Silicon Valley to build one of them. A friend of mine, he just graduated from a university here in Jordan. He developed a small game, and it was by the age of 23, and he's from a very normal background. He's not that genius. He just created
had a unique idea. He had a unique idea.
Yes, and he was able,
as you said in the TED Talk, to have something different than other products, not to be the same, something that could be differentiated from from other items, and it's a very important thing that to always be taught and talked about with the new youth and entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily to be it's not necessarily to be innovative. It could be an emulation as well. So they can use the old concepts and they develop something about it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes, that's why emerging markets, as I said before, it has great opportunities. You can emulate different successful businesses from ideas from the West or the developed countries, and you just bring it like Uber and Careem. Careem, it's the regional Uber.
Exactly.
Despite the fact it has acquisition by Uber again, but this is part of the success for Careem, for this part of the world. So to conclude, I think the major challenges in our region is to face poverty and to challenge it. That's why entrepreneurship it's not an option. We have to find solutions. We have to fight for them. We have to collaborate with each other, from the government to civil society to investors, with entrepreneurs, to put hand in hand and to create successful businesses for our future.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Muad. I will go to the first topic we will be speaking about, and I will address the first topic to Dr. Linda, and it will be about technology. Considering that how much the pandemic by COVID-19 has affected our daily life within the past 2 years, 2 to 3 years actually, and the shift of so many jobs and tasks to be being done remotely, in addition to the fast development of online shopping, let's say. So let's elaborate on that point, especially that online shopping locally in Lebanon and in the MENA region. And how do you see technology? How is the relation between the technology and the startup ecosystem in Lebanon and in MENA countries? Will be the question next to Mr. Muad. Go ahead, Doctor.
Thank you, Basil. Actually, if you look at technology, how it saved, the planet while having the pandemic, it was really amazingly how creative people became. And as Muad mentioned, it doesn't need like rocket science. It doesn't need like someone who is very smart to go and do some kind of job online, some kind of startup online, or open a page. Out of nowhere, you say, okay, this small market next to your house opened a page, and they can send you. If they don't open a page, Instagram or the social media or whatever, they just send you on WhatsApp. They use WhatsApp to work on their to deliver their products and all this stuff. I believe here that it's not only the technology; it goes hand in hand, the science, innovation, and technology. Well, the science, in principle, provides you with the know-how, with the builds and organize the knowledge that is based that is used to develop new technologies. And here comes the education as well. You have to work on the education sector in order to produce labor-embodied technologies. Well, so when you talk about technology and the importance of technology, here you have to talk about the science first, then you go to technology, and then here comes the innovation to serve the startups and build. Okay, I agree with all of you that we have these startups that you can initiate. However, in order for these startups to grow in the future, you need to export, to create, to export to new markets. You need to create other opportunities for them. For these opportunities for them to be able to match these opportunities and to develop from one step to another, here comes the quality of the products that they provide. So, and it's something which is interrelated, and that's why I insist on this on the science, technology, and innovation as a chain that complements each other. Over to you, Bassel.
As for Mr. Mu'adh, how does technology influence the development of a startup ecosystem? For example, I want just to give one short example before the floor is yours.
Yes.
I have a mechanical engineering background. We usually, on my level, as a startup, we do freelancing designing, even if it's abroad or in Lebanon. Now we don't have to be meeting the client face to face. Now we don't have to be giving him finished drawings in hand. We send drawings by the internet. We meet them by video call as we are doing now. This kind of meeting wouldn't have been an idea that we go to 3 years ago. Now we are meeting from different countries in an easy way using Zoom or using any other online platform. So that's my insight on how technology has created a new kind of startups on a different level. So
yes,
what do you think?
I totally agree with Dr. Linda and you, Bassel. Regarding technology should be backed with science and scientific research in order to create the concept, but also for developing the whole ecosystem. Technology has different phases, which you already mentioned and addressed. It made job access much easier than before. So as I said, you can create the next Facebook from your home in Lebanon. No need to go to the Silicon Valley. The second thing, virtual workspaces, and this type of discussions, the learning you can gain over this type of communication like Zoom or Coursera, Udemy. For the pandemic, we lost many beloved people, but it gave us it opened our eyes on the necessity of having these platforms in order to gain more knowledge, to be educated, to be connected in a more sophisticated way than before. So yes, it opens different types of opportunities. For the technology, also, it's a broad aspect. So you can build in fintech, as I said, Internet of Things, VR, AR, big data. I personally worked with some of my friends on a small startup to merge between artificial intelligence and forex trading, to have hints for traders. It's not an easy task. It's not impossible, but we have skills. We have the need. We can solve this problem with collaboration with people in Jordan and all over the world. So this is the beauty of technology nowadays.
Thank you, Mr. Mu'adh. Dr. Linda, to be more specific about Lebanon, how is the current situation for the ecosystem of startup in Lebanon? What about the incubators? What about the accelerators? How is the ecosystem now in Lebanon, pre-pandemic or pre-crisis and post-crisis? Give us your insight. You are muted. Still muted.
Okay. Now it worked.
Now it's working. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, Lebanon has seen an increasing number of accelerators and incubators and entrepreneurship programs emerge for startups and entrepreneurs to gain exposure. This become more productive recently, knowing that the role of the government is minimal in this regard. But I can tell that this market is being more active. I will give you some examples about the incubators and accelerators in general. You have CAP-B, you have Speed at BDD, you have Veritech, Biat, etc. I will talk later in details about them. But going back to the ecosystem in general in Lebanon, actually. When you talk about the ecosystem, you talk about the infrastructure, you talk about the access to finance and markets, research and development, legislation as well. If we look at the infrastructure, unfortunately, we have kind of weak infrastructure, we all know, and we have the problem that we are facing regarding the fuel, and this is really a big problem. Talk about the infrastructure, it's not only the internet and internet connectivity, but also the electricity as well. The government is working now on trying to overcome these obstacles and to maintain good connection. Also, the society, the community are working on alternatives for the internet, and through ISOC we've been talking about this ISOC Lebanon chapter. We've been talking about this for the past couple of months. How to overcome this problem in case we had a kind of internet cut from the government. So it's not only the government who's tackling this, but also the community, the social community. We also worked as ministry on amending legislations, and we are trying as much as we can with the World Bank. We worked on assessing the ease of doing business. We worked on a report or executive summary. We have the executive summary of this report on improving the business environment for tech sector in general. And at the same time, this implementing this action plan that we worked on with the World Bank will help will help the startups as well as all the tech sector in general. So the government by itself, unfortunately, due to the present problems, cannot do that much on this front. However, what the government can do is to work with the international community and the local community on helping the SMEs and helping the startups.
Dr. Linda, in the absence
I hope I answered the question.
You did, but in the absence of the government approach, and because of some of the weaknesses that are due to the huge crisis, economic crisis occurring, who does, who comes in as a middle ground to do some of the government role? Is it NGOs? Is it local? How is that being done as per of funding? Is there some projects that are being done to fund some startups available in the country?
Actually, Lebanon got used to this problem, by the way. We usually had the
doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Who helps us.
Doesn't kill you makes you stronger as Lebanon. And we always learn from
but
from
even if we I don't know to what extent we can still be strong, you know. Actually, what happens normally is that we have some kind. I'm looking for a website. I opened the website here, and I wanted to give you an example about it, but apparently I lost it. No, I didn't. Okay. Well, what I wanted to say is actually what normally happens, and this is what we used to have at the Ministry of Economy and Trade. We had support on SMEs and e-commerce as well, two separate projects. They were funded by the EU. And this was like, this goes back to 2005 and 2008. And as implementation for the project on SMEs, we created the incubators, Veritech, Biat, and another incubator that was in Saida. And fortunately, Biat and Veritech are doing a great job now. And Veritech is considered yes, absolutely. And Veritech is considered as one of the most important incubators for startups and SMEs in the tech sector. So the government, we have to admit it, that cannot do this alone. But how this is done, either with the World Bank, let's say, the UNDP, the EU, the international community, they used to help in this. One of the projects that we got assistance on, the one that I mentioned now, on assessing the ease of doing business in tech sector, was a project with the World Bank. And even now we have the 3 RFs, which is the reform, recovery, and reconstruction framework. This is an initiative by the international community that works, help Lebanon, designed to help Lebanon after the August explosion of Beirut. One of the main components of or pillars of this framework is creating jobs and economic opportunities. Within the economic opportunities is a part related to startups and related to SMEs, especially in the tech sector. One more thing that I want to add related to policies is that the McKinsey economic study that was prepared, one of the main sectors that were highlighted is the tech sector as an important sector for Lebanon to work on for the future. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Passing on the conversation to Mr. Muad, as you have founded Esther Lab Investments, and prior to that, it was a startup, Esther Lab Cafes. I want to have your insight as an investor. If you could share with me your opinion of the investor ecosystem in the MENA region, and what do investors usually, in general, prefer? And is there a actual difference between traditional investing and new generation investing?
Okay, thank you for the question. I'll tell you from my experience. Angel investors are looking for startups at the early stages, but have good growth potential. So early stage growth potential and the risk level. Therefore, there is a new trend of supporting, and I'm sure Dr. Linda will agree with me, on supporting small businesses rather than startups in order to reduce the risk. So there is a hype about not neglecting startups, but focusing, directing more funds into small businesses which are well established, 3-4 years, to have funds in it. So risk is always on the table, and everyone is trying from the investor's perspective to reduce it by diversifying their investment portfolios. On the other hand, VCs are coming to our region, to the MENA region, and because, as I mentioned, our region it's emerging markets, and the growth is highly expected. But the amount of investments injected to our market is still below our needs. I was checking the Global Entrepreneurship Index, and if you check, you will see that the amount of investments are getting better year by year. But on the regional level, now you can see some unicorns in Turkey, in Saudi, in Dubai, UAE, in Egypt. Saudi Arabia is also picking up again. But to put it in a perspective,
in a word perspective, it's still
we are not in the front.
Emerging markets, as you said in the beginning.
Yes. So I negotiated many investors, and every time I try to reduce the risk. So I encourage any entrepreneur who can, in order to maximize or increase their the probability of getting funded, is to reduce the risk of the investments. And to highlight the growth potential they have. So not any investors looking for dividends on his shares. Some are looking for the capital gains they get from investing in early stages at their the startups or the small businesses. So as founder of Astrolab, and it was, I'm a small business now, but I was a startup before. Highlighting these issues was the only way to secure our funds. We are now operating in Jordan, 5 branches, in Egypt soon. We are in Turkey. We signed 2 branches. Kuwait, we signed 3 branches. In Lebanon, inshallah.
So you are coming.
Inshallah.
You are coming.
That's finalized, but 90%, inshallah.
Yeah, I was checking the Facebook page of Astrolab Cafe, so it is something interesting to be tasting and facing Starbucks and New Yorker. It's a nice idea to try that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maad. Dr. Linda, from a governmental point of view, what are the policies that are being done in favor of startups in Lebanon? And that will be the wrapping up question. So we still have 6 minutes, not to pass the time.
Okay. Well, the Ministry of Economy and Trade worked before on several initiatives in this regard. Why I'm saying before, because actually, unfortunately, due to the problems that we are having here, brain drain, besides the most of our staff have left the country. However, we are trying to work more and more on this and rebuild a new team for the SMEs. Well, the Ministry of Economy and Trade has launched some actions and initiatives to support the startups, including templates, compilation of SMEs and the startup support activities. We also worked on What's in Lebanon for SMEs guidebook. And to be honest with you, after this guidebook goes back to 2018, but most of the content of this guidebook is really beneficial and important. And because of this this event, I thought that we have to update this guidebook and make it available online for startups and SMEs. And I will share with you in the chat box the link to this guidebook. We also started an initiative to work on SME Observatory to collect information on employment as well, SME creation and profit and so on. Hopefully in the future we can follow up and do more from our side. I want to highlight as well the fact that there is the ISME program. The ISME program is a $30 million US initiative funded by the government of Lebanon through loans from the World Bank. So actually this is a World Bank support. The program aims to encourage the equity investment market, to increase early stage investment finance for financially viable new and existing innovative firms. So mainly this is still working, and it could be an alternative for the crisis that we have in the financial sector.
Can you please also mention Kafalat program and even prior to the crisis there was the BDL circular 331. BDL is the central bank in Lebanon.
Yes, actually.
They were encouraging.
Yes, actually, Basil, the one that I mentioned now. Okay, the ISMEs that I mentioned now, actually this is the program that is funded by the Lebanese government, because Kafalat was established by virtue of a law, and it's considered as Lebanese institution. So a government institution. So mainly one of the main projects that Kafalat is still working on it. It's an ongoing project. Is the ISMEs. Regarding the, excuse me, I missed the second question.
Regarding the BDL circular 331.
Actually, the BDL circular really benefited all tech sector, because they gave loans to tech sector at that time. But I believe that now it's they are not working. We are in a different phase. However, we are working on overcoming this problem and try to find new solutions for SMEs and the startups to work on to benefit financially from loans through the international community. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Mu'adh, also to wrap it up with you. So you are you do consider Lebanon as a hot area to be doing an investment. What are your doubts? What do you think are the points of strength? I think we mentioned some. We will wrap up with you as an investor who would be interested to be coming to do a startup or helping startups in Lebanon. It's the floor is yours, and it will be the end with you.
Yeah, thank you. To be honest, and this is not a compliment, the best or the most loved countries from me and my wife is Lebanon, and we wish Lebanon to have a stable economy and a stable situation. But from investment point of view, I think stability in regulations is one of the key issues. Maybe political problems, it's happening all over the world, but as long as there is no violence in the streets and stability in policies, tax policies and incentives for foreign investors, this would be a great opportunity for Lebanon. I'm sure it will attract a huge amount of investors.
Thank you, Mr. Maad. You raised your hand, Doctor.
Actually, I totally agree with Dr. Muad on this because, you know, investors, the political stability is not a key for them whether or to take the decision whether to invest or not. It's well known that investors, they do invest in conflict areas. And the best place for investors to do their investments in the conflict areas. So as Muad mentioned, the most important is the stability of policies and the stability in terms of laws and regulations, the stability in terms of giving tax incentives as well. This is something very important.
We will elaborate on that maybe in the next talk. Thank you very much, Mr. Muad. Thank you very much, Dr. Linda. It was I on a personal level enjoyed the conversation with you. I enjoyed having you, and this will be the end of our talk. Mr. Hazimi, do you have any final words? Do you want to share with us if you're still there?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
I would like to thank Dr. I would like to thank you as well for this. I've been watching all the startup sessions about from country to country ever since the program began. And today, fortunately and happily, it was our country's turn. And it turned out even better than expected. It was quite rich in information. It was quite encouraging for startups and for investors. Once again, thank you all, and looking forward for any investors which we might have encouraged from today's session.
Thank you, Mr. Hazimi. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. So thank you very much, and have a good day. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Jahvarat, do you have anything to add? You are muted, or I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we do now.
I'm sorry. I don't have any addition, but thank you, all of you. We are so honored to have you here today. It was a great session for me and for all our listeners, I think. Thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us today. And thank you, Mr. Bazal, for your great moderation. See you, inshallah, in our next projects.
Inshallah. See you all. Waiting for Mr. Muad in Lebanon.
Yes, for sure.
Salam alaikum. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.